There is something in The Last Olympian between Clarisse and Silena that I don't think is discussed enough within the fandom, and that is the fact that, especially in the last book, they are basically the modern version of Patroclus and Achilles, who, as many people may know from Song of Achilles, were a romantic couple. But obviously Clarisse and Silena weren't romantic. But maybe there is a little bit more Patroclus and Achilles between them than we previously realised. Let me explain. Now, I am in no way saying that there is an actual romance between Clarisse and Silena. I don't think there is. I don't think there should be. But what I think would be really interesting, especially considering Song of Achilles and the mythology in general, is if that was played into a little bit more, especially in the show, but also with how it is in the books in general, minus the Chris stuff, which I never agreed with, but that's a conversation for another time. Because Clarisse, Silena and Beckendorf add in a really interesting dynamic that I don't think a lot of people discuss, but it's something that I think they could really play up to in the show when we get to more of their interactions and more Clarisse, and just having Silena in the show and Beckendorf in general, because they are the opposite of what their parents are. Obviously, Ares and Aphrodite are a couple in mythology. They have various romantic entanglements, they get trapped by Hephaestus a lot, it's a whole thing. Clarisse and Silena are children of Ares and Aphrodite. It would almost make sense if they had ended up as a couple. But a child of Aphrodite has chosen a child of Hephaestus and has fallen in love with a child of Hephaestus. Something that is the opposite of what happened with her mother. Her mother is married to Hephaestus, but never cared for him, never wanted him, never chose him. Instead, she was kept away from the person she did want to be with, in a sense, minus the fact that gods obviously sleep with everyone. She wanted to be with Ares. And I find that would be such an interesting difference if in the show Clarisse loved Silena, but Silena didn't love Clarisse, at least not in that way, because she has chosen and is with Beckendorf, a child of Hephaestus. Because that would just be incredibly interesting, especially when we get to the symbolism aspect of Patroclus and Achilles. Silena has lost Beckendorf. She's lost the person she wants to be with. But she still also cares for Clarisse. And Clarisse, who is hurt through her ego, won't do what needs to be done. So Silena does it for her, leading to her own death, and then obviously the reveal of everything that comes after. And Clarisse, in her Achilles way, I guess, fights for the person that she loves, even if they didn't love her in return, and makes sure that their death is not in vain. Basically, kind of doing what their godly parents could never do, which was get on. Aphrodite could never get on with Hephaestus. She could never stand Hephaestus. Ares was the same. There was always a battle between these three gods. There was always conflict between them. And while that could have gone down the same route with their children, they didn't allow that to happen. Instead, Clarisse, though unrequitedly in love with Silena, continued to support her, to stand by her, to be with her when she needed her, but never tried to cross the line. She was a friend. Yes, a friend who loved her, but a friend who would never step over that line, because she knew that wasn't her place. That was Charlie's. And the three of them are breaking that history. The three of them are fixing what was broken in that family by doing what they did. Silena falling in love with Beckendorf, something her mum would never have done. Clarisse standing by Silena to be the person she needed to be without ever stepping over the line, something that Ares probably never would do. I don't know, I want this to be built up more in the show, because I feel like that could lead to this really interesting, I don't know if symbolism is the right word, but to have them be the opposite of their parents, to have them stand together, to have this image of the Patroclus and Achilles thing without the romance element, but kind of also still there either way, just in a different way, I think would make Selena's sacrifice, her love of Beckendorf, Clarisse's friendship and love of Silena, even though she never acts on it, to just be almost more tragic, but also just to deepen the relationship between these characters and just make it stand out so much more in the fact that, yes, they are doing the opposite of their parents. It's the completely opposite way round. It's fascinating. I just wish it'd been focused on a little bit more. And I'm hoping in the show they do just that. Because it's interesting, it's fascinating, and I want it so bad. Just give me this dynamic, because it'll work. At least, I hope it will. Editing Fran here. So we've got an interview with Beauregard John, who plays Clarisse in the TV show, with an interview with The Direct, basically saying that the interpretation from fans about the sapphic undertones of Clarisse and Silena is true. And that just makes me think that she is going to play this up in the show. And Disney, I don't trust you, but please God, let this happen, please. Again, I don't want them to be a couple. I want unrequited love from Clarisse to Silena, but it would be so good. It would be so good. Sorry, we'll get back to the video now. But what do you guys think? Do you think this would work in adaptation sense? Do you think having Clarisse being unrequitedly in love with Silena would be something that would be interesting for her character, and just for the dynamic between those three characters in comparison to their parents? Or am I just chatting shit? Which is possible, because I do that a lot. So whatever the case, let me know in the comment section down below. And just tell me your thoughts on this idea of having this symbolic change between almost kind of like the reversal of a generational trauma situation. Just let me know what your thoughts on it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, check out my Patreon, check out my books. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.